Antarctica is the most challenging, most desolate, and least explored continent on the planet. This frozen desert has hosted countless myths, legends, and mysteries throughout history, repeatedly claiming the lives of those who tried to explore it. Today, Antarctica's existence is no longer as much of a secret as it once was. The continent is there, waiting to be explored, but you're not allowed to freely go there. In fact, even going there without restrictions is not permitted. But why? Why do countries try to keep this ice-covered continent hidden like a secret treasure? Or is there some truth behind all this that only a select group wants to keep from the rest of the world? In the year 100 AD, we encounter the highly significant Greek scholar Claudius Ptolemy, also known as Ptolemy or Bathlamius. He was an astronomer, mathematician, geographer, astrologer, and philosopher, a truly extraordinary figure. Ptolemy spent most of his life at the famous Library of Alexandria, the intellectual center of the ancient world, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge, and left behind numerous contributions across various fields. For today's video, however, he is remembered for an extremely intriguing claim. He was the first in history to speak of a massive landmass in the southern part of the world. In his work Geography, he referred to this continent as Terra Australis incognita, meaning unknown southern lands. But how could he make such a claim? How could he provide information about the South Pole, whose existence no one even knew about at the time? Vast oceans and extremely limited knowledge about the world's continents. Right? Actually, Ptolemy's unusual claim was entirely scientific. Granted, this was nearly 2,000 years ago, but it was still science. Ptolemy adopted Aristotle's view, expressed roughly 400 years earlier, that the Earth is round, and argued that for the Earth to remain balanced, there had to be significant landmasses at both the northern and southern ends. Aristotle deserves credit for this insight. Without knowledge of outer space, he correctly inferred that our planet floats rather than rests on a surface. About 200 years after Aristotle, Eratosthenes and Hipparchus accurately calculated the size and circumference of the Earth. Yes, 2,200 years ago, people, using only limited resources in basic physics and mathematics, were able to calculate the shape and dimensions of the Earth. That is why, even today, it's outdated and illogical to dismiss Earth's shape. Thanks to the knowledge of these scholars, Ptolemy reasoned that since most known landmasses were in the north, there had to be a massive landmass in the south. This idea became known as the balance theory. At that time in Greece, it was widely accepted that the Earth's oceans were surrounded by a huge landmass, and the seas were essentially internal waters of that landmass. This is why Ptolemy believed there had to be a landmass beyond the vast oceans. Today, some people take this ancient Greek misconception that there's a giant ice wall at the poles and present it as real. Most of these claims are based on 20-second TikTok videos with no evidence. Be cautious and do your own research, preferably using AI as a tool. Ptolemy's idea of the mysterious southern lands became a legend over centuries, and European sailors raced to discover it first. After roughly 1,300 years, improvements in navigation techniques led to the age of exploration. Brave sailors ventured into the unknown, gradually mapping our planet in detail, maps showing the coasts of North America, Asia, and all other continents. The mysteries of the Earth seemed to be unfolding until 1511, when the great Ottoman navigator Piri Reis shook the world with a mysterious map. This famous and enigmatic map depicted Antarctica before it was covered in ice. At the peak of the Ottoman Empire, Piri Reis, one of the Navy's most prominent figures, completed his work Kitab-ı-Bahriye, which contained detailed maps, navigation information, coastal details, geographic data, and information about natural phenomena. In 1513, Piri Reis gifted another map to Sultan Selim I, which even included information about the Americas. This map is what we now know as the famous Piri Reis map. However, the portion we usually see is just a small segment of a larger map. This section includes Africa's west coast and the eastern sides of North and South America. Interestingly, it also depicts another landmass at the bottom, what we now know as Antarctica. How could Piri Reis draw a continent that existed only in myth and had been covered by ice for millions of years? The explanation is much simpler than conspiracies suggest. Piri Reis did not receive help from aliens, lost civilizations, or astral entities. As he clearly stated in his book, he compiled information from earlier navigators. The so-called Antarctica depiction was actually a mapping error. He extended the map's southern edge due to the unexplored,